So I just want to thank a few people before we start. Arena, who did a lot of my presentation, actually, about half of it. SimilarWeb and ComScore for stats. Highly recommend you look at SimilarWeb for Intel now as a competitive intelligence service. KPCB, which is Mary Meeker, and Pew Research. We're going to cover scene setting, market overview, talk about the landslide shift towards mobile, some of the top mobile dating apps, some of the interesting things that's going on with them, talk about engagement, the news, funding, and some new dating apps and features which I think are particularly interesting for you, and dollars. And that's a lot of ground to cover in the next 45 minutes. So scene setting. I work with Cortland Brooks, and we're a husband and wife team. It's a small team of experts that I've essentially recruited from the dating industry, from this room, over the last dozen years. We do three things: strategy, business development, and media relations. And we refer out for everything else. So the idea is, for the price of a junior marketing manager, you get access to a team of seasoned internet dating professionals. So we think it's important to stay ahead of the news. And so we summarize it. Our nice thing that we do for the industry is we summarize the news every single day so that you can do 3 hours of reading in 3 minutes. We're looking really for the intelligence in the news, things that can help you make better decisions and help you hopefully make more money. So I'd recommend subscribing so you can get the daily news summary. Then you don't have to go to the site or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you want to consume it. You can just type in your email here and we'll send you the daily news. There's also a research link further down, which has got a ton of information. If there's a particular website that you want to research, you can see the news going back 10 years in summary format. So look at the research. This actually goes a lot deeper than just the cursory daily news. So today, apparently, according to Pew Research, 15% of all US adults report they've used online dating sites or mobile dating apps at some stage, which seems that we've reduced the stigma now at this stage. In fact, they also say that around about nearly half of US adults know someone who've used a dating app. So that's really at the heart of why we've reduced the stigma. It works. People are talking about it because it does work, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of room for growth as well. So how positive are people around mobile dating? There we go. The attitude towards online dating has grown more positive over the years. If we look at this here, we have a survey that was done by Pew Research in 2005 versus 2015. The question that was asked is, do you think that online dating is a good way to meet people? Or do you think people who use online dating sites are desperate? And in 2005, 23% of the people thought they recognized and said that they thought people were desperate. Actually, no, 2005 it's 29%, 2015 it's 23%. And in 2005, 44% of people thought it was a good way to meet people. Now it's 60%, on the order of 60%. But who's more positive? Here we have the use of online dating apps by young adults. And essentially, young adults, this is the highest usage improvement category. It's up to nearly 3x since 2013, just in 2 years. So it's now acceptable. Also, the high growth group is the 55 to 64 range. That's doubled since the last 2 years. Let's take a closer look at this younger generation. Another thing that's happening with them is they're living at home more. The 18 to 34-year-old set is now, for the first time in 130 years, more likely to be living at home than moving away and cohabiting or getting married. So this is something else we should think about. This younger set, more avid daters, less inclined to get married or move in. Does this mean that they have more money for dating, I wonder? Let's have a quick look at the global internet population. We're really taking a step back right now. These numbers are from Mary Meeker, thank you very much, at KPCB, and who she quoted, the United Nations, wow. So this is the growth in the number of internet dating users. Essentially, we've got significant growth. I mean, this is something that we can be pleased about. Well, where is the growth? Where should you be looking for the fastest growth? The fastest growth is happening in India. India has actually passed the USA now to be the number 2. China's number 1. But the growth is actually accelerating. Year over year, internet dating access grew by 40%. There's 40% more people just year over year. The year before, it grew 33%. So massive, massive growth in internet usership in India at this stage, which is why you see some companies moving towards India. So market overview. How many people are using dating sites and apps? Let's drill down a bit. These numbers are from ComScore, and we can see that the total number of people who are using online, the internet in the USA is 231 million, and only 9.3 million of them are using internet dating on a monthly basis. So here's mobile. It's 190 million people using mobile, smartphones essentially, and of those 34 million are using dating apps. So you can see this is the landslide shift that we've all experienced. This is no longer the internet dating industry. This is the mobile dating industry. Only 4% are using, 4% of internet users are using dating, but 18% are using mobile dating apps. Let's have a look at the change. So the change, in fact, I'm just going to show everything here. There. The change is down 40% essentially for the dating audience on the internet, and it's up 16% year over year for the dating apps. So we're still seeing significant shift. It's just a superior experience. At the end of the day, I don't think people want to come home from work and tappity-tap on a keyboard. They want to stay hooked and in conversation with that person they're trying to reel in for a date. So I was thinking when you're designing an app, you have to look at the real world and consider how does the real world work? And you can take an increment, you can move in any direction one step. And you kind of model the real world and then you increment. And in the real world, you don't leave it 2 days to chat with someone if you're interested in them. You're going to want to keep them in tow, in communication. So let's have a look at Tinder. These Hallmark free dating sites. What I did was look on Google Trends, and the question I had was, so are people really that interested in free dating now? What are the Hallmark brands? We've got Plenty of Fish, and we've got OkCupid, and we've got Date Hookup, you might remember. No, free. Oh, free dating apps. Free dating services, rather, dating brands. So I looked on Google Trends, and you can see this is back in 2005 through 2015. And what this is showing is the number of people, the trend of people typing in Plenty of Fish, which is in blue, and OkCupid, which is in red, and Date Hookup. So you can see there's kind of a peak at about 2011 of Plenty of Fish, and now people aren't typing it in so much. And that's for a couple of reasons. One reason is they're less interested. They know it. They don't need to type it in so much. They know how to find Plenty of Fish. The other key reason is that they're not on the internet. They're on their app. So they're not going into Google to type up Plenty of Fish so much. But it still shows a significant decline. And if we contrast that with Tinder, there's the Tinder growth. So massive, massive increase in interest in Tinder over the last couple of years. So free dating sites rely more heavily on ads. Let's have a look at the ads market. The ad market, internet ad growth is accelerating at the pace of 20% year over year. So the important line to look at here is this trend here. In blue, we have internet. In this green, we've got the change in mobile. And really, most of the growth is from mobile advertising, which is up 66% year over year. So I think we're seeing some of these numbers in our cost per acquisition rates. There's a lot more advertisers drifting towards mobile, and so that's making our cost per acquisition rates increase. Desktop only increased 5%. Where is this growth coming from? Well, here's Google. They're seeing 18% growth year over year. Here's Facebook. They're up on the order of 60%. And their actual share of the advertising market is increasing as well, year over year. The fast growth. So why is Facebook doing so well? Why are we really, what's happened over the last year? If we look at this graph here, we're seeing essentially engagement. The left side shows average monthly minutes per visitor versus the percentage reach among aged 18 to 34. So Facebook obviously has a massive reach, but they also have a massive number of minutes per user. And that just shows you that they're really outdistancing the competition. Snapchat's doing some very interesting things with video and very interesting format. I can see them coming through. LinkedIn is in a real quagmire here. Massive reach, but very low engagement. Instagram, of course, part of Facebook, and doing very well. let's consider video. Facebook daily video views is going through the roof. Snapchat daily video views growing even quicker. What's happening with video? Why is this? Really, if we consider the evolution of video, which we've always struggled with, let's face it, we've struggled with video because people want to consume video, but they don't want to actually make it. They're shy about making video. So we've had a hard time getting profiles to work. I think this might change. The evolution really has been that we started out live with traditional TV, and then it went to on-demand, and we've got Netflix, Amazon, etc. And now it's moved towards semi-live with these Snapchat stories. And really now we're seeing Periscope and Facebook Live come through. And I think this becomes more compelling, especially with the engagement, the feedback. I've just been Periscoping some sessions. I can see people coming online. I can interact with them live. It's very, I think the hit that we need, the kind of psychological hit, the boost that we need is going to be better served through video, meaning that the kids, get a little high every time they get engagement. Once they're getting their friends engaging with them online instantly, I think that's going to drive, long term, I think that's going to drive more usership towards video, and we've got to start thinking more about video. So how are behaviors changing? Let's look at the millennials versus Generation Z. The real key difference here is millennials they've got a couple of screens on. But Generation Z, and I see this in my daughters, who are 2, 6, and 7, is they've got multiple screens. They'll be looking at TV, they'll be looking at their iPad, but they've also, they're just moving towards just really being active on multiple screens. And they're communicating with images, whereas millennials are communicating more with text. I have a real hard time, I think, with this, putting the phone up to the ear. That's something that's got to go. Also texting. It just doesn't seem very optimal. And I think the kids are going to get it. They're going to move more towards video. They're going to be less and less shy, less and less privacy concerned. And video is going to be, the creation aspect. They're more creators and collaborators. This creation aspect is going to be more video. And of course, we've seen this with this. You've seen this crazy video. This is Facebook Live, 153 million views. This is evidence. So mobile landslide. If we consider worldwide desktop traffic, this is desktop traffic worldwide per stat counter from just this month, actually, bang up to date, versus mobile growth. This is actually going to result in mobile overtaking desktop in 2017. So mobile desktop, in India, meanwhile, the mobile overtook desktop 4 years ago. Let's have a quick look at North America in comparison. A little bit behind the world, but maybe 2019 it'll overtake. Right now, mobile is 1/3. So smartphone US market share is about 80% of users are using smartphones at this stage, with Apple being the majority at 40, or the number one at 44%, which isn't consistent across the globe. Let's look at smartphone sales overall. The rate of growth of smartphone sales is actually going down, but the number of smartphones is up 10% globally. And actually last year it was up 28%. So a significant decline in the growth rate of the adoption of, or the growth of smartphone sales. Let's have a look at iOS versus Android real quick. Android is outpacing iOS by 3x. If we look here, this is Android sales, this is iOS. And in fact, the share is going down. Something to consider. Real strong in America, around the rest of the world, Android ruling the roost. And in America right now it's 43%. Actually 53% still for Android. It's actually higher in America. BlackBerry just about out. Microsoft at 3%. So what are these smartphone users doing? What I've shown here is USA versus worldwide. And essentially the average global mobile user spends 80% of their time on 3 apps. And those are, in the USA, Facebook, Chrome, and YouTube. And worldwide it's Facebook, WhatsApp, and Chrome. So YouTube supplanted by WhatsApp. And if you'd like a copy of this presentation, just email me and I'll send it to you. Which dating apps are they using? Badoo is top in 21 countries, no less. Followed by Tinder, followed by the rest. So this is a two-horse race between Badoo and Tinder. Are you surprised about Badoo? No? Let's have a look at Europe, because this is where Badoo made their start, in Spain. If we look across Europe, then it's a different story. There's a fierce competition between the two biggest apps here. Tinder dominates northern countries, and Badoo is at top in the east and the south. In German-speaking countries, Lovoo has come through, actually, which is developed in Dresden. They're number one across the German-speaking countries. Let's have a look at Asia. This is a different story. Tinder and Badoo aren't dominant in East Asia yet. Each country has its own favorite dating app, it seems. So in China, Momo is trying to escape its origins. Actually, as a dating app, they're moving more towards becoming a social network, which is very interesting. Momo's one to watch. And you can see here we've got Tinder and Badoo, yes, they're doing well, but not absolutely dominant. Momo, we've got iPair, Paktor, YYC, Heartbeep. It's more fragmented. If we look at the mobile dating rankings now, this is ComScore. Now, the deal with ComScore is if you pay them, if you're using them, then you can do a roll-up. And the nice thing about doing a roll-up is it makes you look huge, which of course matches anyway. But I actually couldn't get from ComScore, they wouldn't even give to me at this stage, the breakouts for Match versus People Media versus Plenty of Fish versus OkCupid and Date Hookup and SinglesNet. I mean, they've acquired so many companies over the years. This is the roll-up. So clearly, yes, they're dominant. But this, if we broke it down, it wouldn't be quite so scary. Overall, the traffic is up. Match Group is up 58%. And of course, that's a good part because of Plenty of Fish. That deal closed in October 2015. They bought Plenty of Fish. eHarmony continues to grow. If we look at the growth numbers here, eHarmony is up 34%. Interesting, Ashley Madison is up 10%. They're recovering from the scandal. So Zoosk and Scout are in decline. Interestingly, we've got Zoosk down 45% and Scout down 60%. And they were a real growth story a couple of years ago. So we also reached out to SimilarWeb for rankings. I've got their rankings, which give us, the way they measure is quite different. Their methodology is quite different. But here's their rankings. This is for Android only. What we're showing here is the ranking for the dating app across all apps. So we can see 1, 2, 3. We've got Plenty of Fish, Tinder, and Grindr, but we've actually got the ranking versus all the apps. So you can see Plenty of Fish is number 48 in the USA. Very considerable. And again, if you want to get a copy of that, just email me. I'll probably run that on OPW shortly. Top grossing apps, we've got Tinder in terms of money, Tinder, Match, and Zoosk making the most money. And of course, Plenty of Fish now is charging and doing quite well, to say the least. So in terms of engagement, interesting, Grindr has incredible engagement. What we're seeing here is that people are spending 39 minutes a day on Grindr versus 21 minutes on Plenty of Fish. Massive, massive. And this is from SimilarWeb. And of all the time that people spend on the smartphone, you should know that 84% of it is in-app. So there's some sites that are considering, well, maybe we won't do an app. Maybe we'll just have we'll just use a web page that renders well in mobile. But people are still in apps. It's the notifications that really count. Here we see an interesting survey from SurveyMonkey, Intelligence. I didn't know if they were around, but we found this. What percentage of users engage daily? And again, Grindr is up top. This is teeny tiny. I'm sorry about this, but the main thing I wanted to point out here is that 70% of Grindr's user base is engaging on a daily basis. That's off the charts. Followed by Happn at 60% and Plenty of Fish at 58%. So highly, highly engaged user bases. But where's the money? I think you should be looking at Snapchat. Snapchat's just landed on my radar, and I'm just amazed at what they're doing. It's a very unusual user experience. Where are the buttons? It's a little bit confuscating, but very compelling. I think they're really rewriting the rules, especially with video and advertising. I think these ad spots are doing very well. So Spotify did very well, huge lift in their advertising campaign. The Fast and Furious movie was a huge success advertised on Snapchat. And this is full screen ads. It's, there's no switch, it's the entire screen. And very short. And the way they're doing advertising is different. They're very authentic. It's entertaining. It's in context and it's brief. I think it's very, very important to bear in mind. I think if you do advertising right, it almost becomes a service. If it's really very targeted and timely, then it's almost welcomed by users, I think. I mean, if it's, especially when it comes to entertainment. I mean, Spotify and Fast and Furious, these are brands that we love, services that we love. We need to engage users to keep them around, but how? That's changing, and you should be aware of the changes across the different generations. Generation Y, if you want to engage Generation Y one-on-one, you better be using web chat, and you better be using social media. Generation X, baby boomers, silent generation, the #1 choice of engagement there is phone. It's marginal for Generation X. People don't want to answer the phone anymore. They don't want to use the phone. They'll use chat. This is the future. Think chat, think social media. And in fact, this is actually moving towards businesses now engaging in chat rather than using the phone or email, or they're moving towards using IM in situ on platforms like Facebook. So this is Hyatt. They're engaging users on Facebook. And Rogers Communication. What's happening is that they're getting a lot higher, in the case of Rogers Communication, 65% increase in customer satisfaction, 65% decrease in customer complaints. So it is having an impact engaging on this new channel. And in fact, if we look at WeChat, they've got 10 million official business accounts. Facebook has 50 million. Line has 2 million. So there is a movement towards this. So as you consider channels for you to do customer service, you might consider using chat. You know, messaging has exploded. WhatsApp, growth is through the roof. Facebook Messenger, growth is through the roof. WeChat, Instagram, Twitter, not growing quite as fast, but it's on a bigger base, of course. And LinkedIn. So this is monthly active users. Who's using WhatsApp? I've been told it's a little bit more Eurocentric, but... so I think messaging is evolving as well to be more expressive. This mode of communication is changing. We also need to consider that. But I do think that we're going to end up moving towards video. I just don't get this tap, tap, tap. I mean, people are very good at it, but you can still speak more quickly. People are still shy, but I think that's going to change. Look, if you want to experiment with video, to just experience video messaging, I recommend trying out BombBomb, B-O-M-B. Just try messaging. Instead of, condition yourself to, for 1 week, perhaps, just send video message to see how it feels. See if you can get over the... give it a try. Let me know how it goes for you. So, top news. Had some crazy news this year. Spark Networks has laid off 50 people recently, and those are mainly customer service. Spark Networks runs JDate. You might know Christian Mingle. And they've cut the TV ads by, in fact, they've cut them all out now, apparently. And Q1 revenues were 10 million, down 27% year over year, and they made a net loss of 3.4 million in Q1. So they're having a hard time, to say the least. The reason this is important for us is because we're a public company, and they set the tone for the investment community. And the investment community has few windows into our world, Match Group being one of them, of course. There's a few public companies, so I think keep an eye on Spark Networks, because how they do will also impact how we're able to raise money. Now, Badoo have bought Lulu, and I believe this is dead now. We've been monitoring on Lulu.com for the last few days, and it's been dead since last week. They've been in a continual loop of, we're fixing it, but that's been going since last week. So it appears that they might have killed Lulu. Now, Lulu was a people review app. It was very controversial, because people could say very nasty things about each other. Badoo bought them, and it appears killed them. Happn is launching in India. As I was saying, India's fast growth. Happn's doing rather well. Where do they go? Where Tinder's not, although Tinder is there now. They're doing quite well in India as well. They've got a couple of 100,000 members already, and they're going to compete with Tinder, Truly, Madly, and Woo, who are the 3 contenders for mobile dating apps in India. Let's talk about funding. Now, of course, the market's this is since 1993. So what I'm showing here is the, in red, NASDAQ. So this is America. You know, we're doing quite well. Things recovered quite nicely, but we're in this kind of shaky zone here. And we're seeing VCs draw back as well. The amount of money VCs are investing is down. It's a shaky period. Chinese dating app however, raised 32 million. That's the big raise. 32 million, Tantan. They had a Series A of 5 million, a Series B of 13 million. They're getting 7 to 10 million daily active users. And in Q4, they're going to focus on profit. 3-Day Rule has just raised 1.2 million. I'm very interested in 3-Day Rule because they're a matchmaking company. And they charge $4,000 for 3 months. You did hear that correctly, $4,000 for 3 months. And typically, a matchmaker is going to be on the order of $5,000 to $10,000 for a year. 10 grand is about right for a matchmaker for a dozen matches. They're rather like headhunters, if you like. And the industry in the past has been fairly antiquated, but they're coming up to speed very quickly digitally. So 3-Day Rule is interesting because they are backed in part by Match.com, who led their initial investment of 1.25 million. And they most recently raised 650 grand from Dallas Angels Network and 550 grand from other angels. And they've actually got distribution deals, by the way, with Match.com, JDate, Christian Mingle, and OkCupid, which is setting an interesting precedent. Let me know if you're interested in advertising on a national footprint matchmaking platform, because I know the people who can really help you monetize. Send me an email. Dating app once raises $5 million. This is an interesting app because they do 1 match a day. And they say it's part algorithm, part matchmakers, but I'm sure it's more algorithm than matchmaker, but that's the promise of once. They're trying to bottle the matchmaking experience on an app. That money was raised from LG Capital, interestingly enough, and Partech. They raised $3.5 million last summer, and they're based in Switzerland. Dating app Mint has raised $1 million, and Mint is interesting because it's location-based, but it's also, that money comes from the Ask.fm founders, who, there's quite a controversial service, Ask.fm. It was a Q&A site, and it was bought by IAC. So there could be a connect there. Keep an eye on Mint. Dating app Siren has raised $500,000. What's interesting about Siren is that women make the first move. And that's 500 grand of a planned 750K seed round. They've got 20,000 users so far. And then, of course, there's Bumble. FYI, Bumble is now owned 79% by Badoo, Andrea, out of London. They've got 3.5 million users, and they were launched 18 months ago. Let's have a look at some new interesting apps. This is DateTix. They were launched in China, and they're doing very well. They are bigger than Tinder in Hong Kong at this stage. The idea here is that people host a date. I can't think of, like, how about we, I guess. But they're hosting a date, and so you browse around, you discover a date, and then you kind of buy into that date and go on. It really reminds me of How About We. Meanwhile, Match is experimenting. I want to put this on your radar as well. Match has this app called Fresh, and this is a selfie dating app. The idea is that you take a photograph of yourself, and it has to be less than 24 hours old. So really, really super fresh selfies. So what you see is what you get on a date. I'm sure that's a very interesting experiment for them. If you want to find another service like that that's doing very well, look at Pure, mainly out of Europe. They're based in Portugal, and they're more casual in nature, to say the least. And I think their app is, I think it's a 2-hour window. You put a profile up, and you've got 2 hours. Really fleeting. We're familiar with Are You Interested from Snap Interactive. They've been around for years, but it's now First Met, and they're focused on 35 plus, the 35 plus age group. So a really big move for them. What's interesting is this integrates with Facebook. Let's dive a bit deeper into some more interesting features. Tinder has introduced group dating. Did you know about that? Group dating. So Tinder Social for groups. They're calling it Tinder Social. The idea is you create a group, and you look for another group to date, and then you go out on a group date. This is being tested with a small number of users in Australia right now. I want to put that on your radar as well. Tinder also is letting users play with matchmakers. So I imagine they've learned something from the 3-Day Rule investment, and now they're experimenting with matchmaking. This is Friends matchmaking, though, which is a different camp. See, matchmaking is difficult to scale and bottle. No one's quite got this friends matchmaking down yet, though. There's been a few attempts with it over the years. The idea is friends share a profile of potential matches with friends. Meanwhile, Badoo has launched photo verification with a really interesting spin on photo verification. When signing up, new Badoo users are invited to verify their profiles, right? And the way they do it is they ask the users to perform a specific gesture, and then they review the photographs against that gesture to make sure it matches, and that verifies the photograph. These are 15, not a photograph, actually a video, 15-second video. So if they opt out, of course, they can opt out of that. But if they opt out, then they only meet the people that they have a limited set, because they're not meeting the people who said they only want to meet people who've got verified profiles. Very interesting move, that. That could be a precedent. Bumble has launched BFF, and the idea behind this is that Bumble was saying, look, a lot of our users want to meet for friendship. Younger set, they're not particularly focused on dating, they want to be friends first, and they want to define themselves as being friends first. So the idea behind BFF is they're using the same algorithms, the same swiping gesture, but they're meeting people for friendship. Happn is launching the See You There feature, which is rather like How About We, and this is where you state on profiles when you're available for a specific date and what you want to do. Now, I see this as very interesting news. This is very important news. Sam Yagan, no less, who's the former CEO of and co-founder of OkCupid, who went over to work for Match, of course, is working on the feedback loop. And you'll hear me talk about a couple of the key problems I think this industry, the major problems that this industry have. One of the problems is a limited information problem. And the very nub of that problem, the very key to that problem is getting feedback from a date. It's like, okay, did they go on a date? How did it go? Really rudimentary. We don't have this information. So how on earth do we know if the algorithm was successful? What they're focused on at Match now, what Yagan is working on is improving this feedback loop. They want to get some feedback as to how the date went, or even if a date happened. And Sam describes this as transformative for Match. I want to put that on your radar too. Let's talk about money real quick. Match.com is at $1 billion a year revenue at this stage. That's a 15% year-over-year growth. But have they outperformed the market? Has their stock outperformed the market? What I've plotted here is the markets in the USA versus Match stock. And this is since, we've got 2016 here, so it's real over the last, not even a year, last 9 months or so. And so for the last 9 months, Match went down, lost a bit of faith, now it's back up, so no, it didn't outperform the market. Let's have a quick look at Spark Networks. Spark Networks' revenue is $48 million a year now. It's down 22% year over year. They made $2 million loss last year, which is actually pretty good. The 2015 revenue, so did they outperform the market? Let's have a look. Here we have the market. Here we have Spark. Very clearly not. And they're losing faith, unfortunately. What can we be happy about? What can we be pleased about? I just want to give you some good news. I mean, if you think about the macro perspective, let's draw all the way back out now. And there's more people on the planet every year, 1.2% more people on the planet every single year. In terms of our addressable audience, I keep saying we're leaving money on the table. There's so much room for growth. There's so much more we could be doing. And there's so many more people too. There's 1.2% more people on the planet every single year. And life expectancy is going up by 0.6 years every year. So if you've got a long-term perspective on this industry, stick around, because it's only going to get better. People are going to be living longer, and, you know, they're probably going to be marrying later, and we know this anyway. So the demographics are moving in our favor. There's a lot to be happy about. In 20 years, there should be around 12 more years life expectancy. Right now, worldwide, it's 72, age 72. That's why I say continuity is I'll talk about the continuity problem shortly, but the way we have a funky industry, because if we do a good job, we wave goodbye to our customers. And we really need to fix that if we're going to have a future with these people who are living into their 90s. Right, one thing I wanted to point out too is this kind of move from offline to online and online to offline. Look at Neiman Marcus, they're doing well moving online, of course. And then Warby Parker, and there's a bunch of online e-commerce services that are actually launching shops. Warby Parker's doing extremely well. It kind of got me thinking, you know, maybe an area that we can expand into is this matchmaking firm. So matchmaking industry. I think there's a lot of money, there's a lot of opportunity and value that we could deliver more effectively online. It's a whole different business though, but it is a monetization opportunity. So think about that as well. What are our greatest challenges? We've got two big problems. One is the limited information problem. And by that what I mean is that people often don't self-describe very well. They fib to us. They don't give us all the information. And when they do, it's not even accurate. So that's a problem. And when they also don't really know what they want, I think. We think. I mean, we see this. Of course, if you look at their searching behavior in the moment, you get a far better idea of what they want, at least in the moment. And so, for example, Plenty of Fish. I worked with Plenty of Fish for several years. One of the things that they do is if a guy goes on the site and says, I'm interested in a long-term relationship, but then proceeds to search for a casual relationship, then the database will morph around that guy, and the woman that is only interested in a long-term relationship is not going to be exposed to that guy who's demonstrating that he's really interested in a casual relationship. And that changes, but that's a rudimentary example. We need to get more information. We need to know what to do with it. We don't even know what to do with it. Even if we had this information, we wouldn't quite know how it correlates with character, which is one important area, and we wouldn't quite know how to actually matchmake people based on that. So there's a whole realm that we need to get to understand, and I don't think we're going to understand it. I think there's a lot of people out there who are more in the academic realm that can contribute to this. So one of the initiatives that I'm going to open up over the next year is getting more, I've been talking about this for a couple of years now, but I want to get more academics involved and talking to us. And keep an eye on Online Personals Watch, because very shortly I'm going to announce the beginnings of that project. And that's going to be, it's going to allow you, they want data, right? You've got data. They want access to that data. If you give them data, they'll give you insight. And maybe it'll be PR worthy as well. So it's really, we need to get a lot more data. The good news is that the cost of storing that data is plummeting. And, you know, it's 50% data growth a year since 2010. We're getting a whole ton more data as well. So we're getting more used to handling big data. So let's talk about the continuity problem. The continuity problem is one of the key reasons why we don't see so much funding in the dating business. If we do a good job, we wave goodbye to our users. So what is our incentive? That incentive system is very broken. Of course, if we do a good job, then maybe, you know, typically 15, 20% of them will return within 18 months. They'll talk nice things about us. We're not very good at measuring that, but it is very prevalent with the likes of Match.com. If you don't make it too difficult for them to leave, if you do a nice job, then maybe they'll come back, or at least they'll talk about you and say nice things. So I think the solution to problem number one is also the solution to problem number two. If we get more information, if we know what to do with it, then we should not only be able to help people get it together, we should be able to help them keep it together. And that's an entire virgin market. Thank you very much. Cortland Brooks helps dating companies grow. We've been at it since 2005. For the price of a junior marketing manager, you can get access to a team of 17 seasoned internet dating professionals. Thank you very much.